Hello, good evening, everyone. Got a big old screen here. Hey, it's Mike and Wendy, aka Mrs. Perry, aka Wendy. So, hey, happy Monday. It is spring break here in Augusta, and in case you didn't know, in Augusta, spring break every single year coincides with the Masters golf tournament, which happens the first full week of April in Augusta. Can we say Masters, like on camera, like out loud, without like paying them money or something?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, we're not broadcasting live from Augusta National.
Yeah, but still. Oh, you said Augusta National. I think we're supposed to be, if we use their name, we're supposed to say like the golf tournament or something like that. The big tournament, whatever.
Yeah.
If they shut us down, it means we're big time. So whatever. Let's go.
Okay, so we're here every week, and we're back this week. We took off last week for our own spring break and a little bit of time to spend together for our anniversary. So if you're joining us for the first time, we are Inside Marriage. Every Monday at 7 p.m. unless we put out a little message that says we're not going to be here.
Yes.
But our goal is to be here every Monday to talk about things that are happening inside marriage, our marriage, your marriage, marriage in general. And so if you're joining us for the first time, we are thankful that you're joining us. We invite you to share, comment, and, like it. So...
Yeah. We hope you'll like really like it.
Yes.
Not just Facebook like it, but
yes. So there
like
are a couple of things I did want to mention. Two other people or couples to support, right? So
Okay.
There's Glenn and Sherry Brooks. They're on every week on YouTube. They're live on YouTube. I think it's on Saturday mornings. It's Breakfast with the Brooks. And so they also do a really good job of interacting and talking about marriage and families. And so they've dedicated time to that. And then the Robinsons, Sharmika and Ron Robinson, are hashtag LOL. Love Out Loud, and that's every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. So we also wanted to invite you to look them up, look them both up. So that's Glenn and Sherry Brooks, that's Breakfast with the Brooks, and then Sharmika and Ron Robinson, hashtag LOL, that's Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. So I wanted to make sure I got that in there because we always want to support what people are doing, especially as it pertains to enriching and blessing marriages. So, back to us, Mike and Wendy, back from spring break, back from our anniversary celebration.
21 years of marital bliss.
Yes.
Like, amazing. Like, 21 years. I mean, who would not want to spend 21 years with this guy?
Right, exactly.
Whoa.
I keep asking myself.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to spend 21 years with you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then you're doing it right. And you're like, oh my goodness, 21 years with this guy.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, I think it's just like anything else, right? So the question is, when you start out your marriage, or when you say yes, right? And then you say, I do.
yeah.
Are you planning at that moment for how many years it will be?
I don't know. I mean, we say until death do us part, and we say, I think that most people get married with the intent of being married.
Yes.
Like for the duration. However, the duration, for some people, it can feel like a really long time. And when you're in it, all of a sudden, people are like, man, I didn't necessarily sign up for all of that, right? And so I think that the truth is, in the beginning, it's impossible to know where you're going to be at 20 years. It's impossible to know exactly what that's going to be like from the beginning. Because in the beginning, a lot of people don't know each other. Not like the marital knowing, right? There's a different kind of knowing someone when it comes to marrying them and being married to them and committed. And so that's something different. So I think, there's what we envision.
Yes.
But I don't know that reality is always aligned with what we envision, right? Because even kind of the ups and the downs. I mean, we talk about good and bad, or better or worse, I think, is how some of the vows go sometimes, and richer and poor and all that stuff. And man, when you hit poor, I mean, I don't know if anybody anticipates what that really feels like either, but I guess what I'm saying is it's life. I mean, life has a lot for you when you're at the beginning,
right?
And so for us, I don't know that I would have anticipated that life would have taken some of the twists and turns that it did, and then today we are where we are. And with you telling me last week, hey, you know what, this is like, you know, I'm having an awesome time, and you know, like I enjoy you, and you know, being married to you and all that stuff. I couldn't have anticipated that we'd be here, given where some of the road has gone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think that's true for most couples, right? Because you don't know what the future holds, but I think at the beginning, you are at least planning to
Of course.
be together, enjoy each other, be happy, and not have difficulties.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at a minimum, that's what the expectations are.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of people believe, too, that if difficulties come, they'll be able to work it out.
Yes.
Right? I mean, certainly we can work out anything that comes at us, right? That's what a lot of people, I think, go in thinking.
Yeah. I think I would agree. Yes. And then what happens?
Well, I was going to ask you the same thing. What happens?
Well, I mean, I think, as people say, reality sets in, right? And so it is a lot of what we've talked about in the past weeks, right? Coming in with different expectations and coming in with different backgrounds. So the history of what brought you to it, how you were raised, what you witnessed, you know, all inform your expectations. And then you both are coming in with different expectations, and then you're kind of forcing those expectations, right? Or forcing your expectation on the other person, or them to fit your expectation. And in the midst of doing that, you make decisions about some things. So often people, well, I would say most people who get married live together. So is that combining of households or buying that first house? Then a lot of people get a pet first.
Okay.
So I don't know how many of you got a pet first, but a lot of people, for some reason, before they have children, they get a dog.
What is that?
I don't know.
Like getting a living creature that we must nurture mutually. And get that the first thing that you might fight about, right?
Yes,
It's like, who gets a dog?
I'm sorry.
So, I mean, I don't know, people. I don't know about the, you know, is it a test? I mean, is that we'll just get this dog and see how that goes? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. A lot of people get a dog, and I think it's just kind of how we do, right? We recommend that people get something that they have to mutually care for,
do we
right?
recommend that?
To practice. No, in general, not us, but in general, in society. Society kind of dictates or says, okay, get a dog, and that'll be practice for when you have a baby. I don't know.
I don't even know. Look, I recommend what you do is do like we used to do back in the day in home ec. Do they do this? Where you get an egg. Get an egg and mutually care for your egg and see how that goes. Egg has to always be under the care of somebody. Can't break the egg.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. I mean, nowadays they have like actual dolls and different things that they use, and some schools still use an egg. But
I like the egg.
I don't think that a lot of schools even still have home ec.
Well, good point.
Yes.
But they should call it something different. Like,
well, but you bring up a good point, right?
Class.
So what is the class that you take that prepares you for marriage?
There is no class.
That's what I'm asking.
There is jump in with both feet and go. That's what it is.
But there should be. And so some churches, though, have a before you say I do.
That's true.
There's counseling. Sometimes pastors or priests or reverends or whoever covers a church will do therapists do premarital counseling.
Yep.
But I'm not aware of anybody that actually, no high school, that has a class, or college that has a class that says Marriage 101. So Tanya, Michelle, thank you for tuning in. Even though you're driving, going down to Florida, I'm not sure how you're doing that, so I hope you're just listening. Jocelyn, Richard, thank you for joining us. So yeah, no classes on marriage. Marriage 101. Maybe that's what we should change. Maybe we should do another day a week and do marriage 101.
You mean like consistently? Like
yeah.
Maybe, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do like a little series. Maybe
know.
a live series.
You let us know.
Online series. I don't even know.
Would there be any utility to having or taking a class, right? Maybe in college, assuming that you would go to college and assuming that when you enter college, you're not married.
Well, here's the thing about college, right?
Yes.
And so about something like that, perhaps the college would matter, right? So whether or not the college would take something like that on would matter. It's simply because of what people, and this is kind of a sign of the times, right? But what people call marriage and how they go about it and the foundation of it differs, right? And so colleges, I'm not confident that a lot of them would take that on. There are some that would, right? But it's just because of their stated mission and their stated worldview. There's some that would like push back, I believe. Maybe we should experiment with that and see.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no way to tell. I mean, you guys know we like to teach. We like to talk. We love to talk. We love to teach. And so the question
I don't like to talk that much.
Is there a need? Does a need exist? And would there be any utility in having a class called Marriage 101, right? And which would cover really kind of the ins and outs of marriage, entering into it, I guess sustaining it, and longevity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you asked about need and you asked about utility.
Yes.
But what you didn't ask about is interest, right? Okay. Because there are a lot of things that might be good, but if the people don't want it, then it's whatever, right? So, so maybe it's about where the real interest in something like that lies. Right.
Yeah.
And whether you could get it done effectively on this platform, I think you could.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of throw that out there. So back to successfully doing marriage, or how do you successfully stay married? What's the question?
Was that a question?
I don't know. What is the question?
Well, that was the question. But we were talking. We were talking about what happens when you go in on the front end, right? And you envision it one way, and then life happens, and next thing you know, it's somehow difficult to get to what you envision. Okay. Yeah. So we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
And so, what about it?
What about it?
I thought there was a question.
You thought what on the table already?
Yeah.
No, there wasn't a question on the table already. So
okay.
Let me see. There is always a need, but a lot of blended families, lots of growing pains. Oh, that's Matthew. So yeah, hey, thanks, Matthew. Absolutely. Now, blended families is actually that's a huge one. We didn't even talk about how, because when we talk about kind of marriage basic, if you will, right? That is two people coming together, right? And it's we're bringing together our perspectives, our lifestyles, our beliefs, all those things, right? That's just us.
Yes.
But what about blended families? When you're bringing together not only my beliefs, my perspective, whatever, but I'm bringing all these other people along with me, and guess what? They have their own perspectives and beliefs and everything as well. Right? Yeah. Tremendous challenge, actually.
Yeah.
And so that can be enough for some people to call it quits. It's just easier to not blend those families, right? For some folks. However, we do know a number of people who have done it and done it successfully, I would say.
Yeah, we do. I mean, and, blended or not blended, there are challenges, but certainly more challenges with a blended family because you are entering into a ready-made family. And so I would call that, so you said marriage basics would be marriage 101. This would be marriage advanced.
Grad school marriage.
Marriage 202. So with that, I mean, because, you're right. So we talk about expectations, we talk about background, history, and all that stuff. And that's just what you know and what you believe going into marriage. But then you add in previous marriages or marriage, and sometimes children, child or children, and you're blending that together. And so whenever I hear blended marriage, the Brady Bunch always comes up.
Yes.
And so, we were talking about that, not you and I, but talking about the Brady Bunch recently. And I'm like, they made it look so easy, right? Nobody ever talked about really what happened to the first spouses. Like, if they divorced or if they died, it was just these two met and they decided to get married, and each of them had 3 kids.
Yeah.
And so they got married, and everybody was happy. They had a maid and a dog.
Yeah, and then at the end of the
I think
episode,
we did talk about it. Didn't we talk about it?
I don't even know, but
Yes.
what I do know is at the end of the episode they said cut, and then everybody went to their real lives, right?
Yes, which we later learned was, pretty ugly.
Pretty ugly, and so real life we don't get the screen cut, right? We're in it.
Yes.
And there's definitely some things I think that are important about making that work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're not going to necessarily kind of go totally down the route of blended marriages, but it's a great example of how, from the outset, it like, you know what, we can do this. I mean, this is going to be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the challenges sometimes that come along, I think that a lot of folks, the way you might react or the way you might feel about certain things, it really doesn't lock in until you are in that relationship, right? And so I think that goes certainly for yourself. Certainly, if you brought anybody along with you,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
For them, when it becomes real, there's a fantasy, and that's not like it's imaginary or not possible, but there's this thing that we envision that this thing could be. And it's just like, a lot of folks when they get married, when they're planning the wedding, they see this wedding, right? They see it unfolding. It's going to be beautiful. The music and the flowers and the people and all this pageantry and pomp and circumstance is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes.
Well, I mean, who plans a wedding thinking it's going to be garbage?
Well, no, I mean envisioning it.
That's what I'm saying.
The way that you,
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking on the ideal end of the spectrum where people are just like, wow, this is going to be beautiful, right? It's going to be perfect, quote unquote.
Yes.
And then the wedding day hits.
Yes.
And so actually, I think the wedding day might be a great microcosm for the marriage itself, right? Because a lot of people put so much into that wedding day and making it look and feel a certain way. They sometimes forget about the point.
Well.
And so.
Yeah. What is the point?
Well, the point is to get married. The point is to take these two people and create this union where the two of those people become one, right? And so it becomes more about whether or not, I don't know, your nephew cries going down the aisle instead of like carrying a doggone ring. Is it too soon still?
Yeah.
It's been 21. It's too soon. No, really, we didn't. It was all good. We didn't. It wasn't a biggie. But or maybe.
That's your cousin.
Oh, he's my cousin. That's right. My bad. Well, he was so small then. I see nothing. He's my cousin. Hey Trey, love you, man. Hey, listen, you look great though. I'm telling you, that boy was snazzy. But my point is really, people get caught up on some of these little details, and really, once the wedding day is over, it is over. Money spent, done.
Well,
right?
I mean, yeah.
But
and
the
so
point
I would
is
say,
bigger than that.
Well, the point is bigger than that. Well, what I would say is things about people's character are revealed during the wedding planning process, right? So you can envision what the marriage is going to, what the wedding day is going to be like, but there's some things that kind of manifest during that planning, right? So, and I think if you're paying attention, it could be key indication of what it's going to be like to be married.
Break it down.
So what I'm saying is, you kind of laid out a vision, right? You said flowers, music, all this stuff, right? How many people? And so you have your ideas, I have mine. And when we sit down to try to come together, combine those ideas to make it our day, it often leans to the bride's day. And it often, the man often yields to whatever she wants. And it gets very contentious, or can get contentious in that process, because a lot of women will say, well, I want to include you on everything. I want to ask you questions on everything. I want to ask your opinion about the flowers or the colors or the people. And you might want to invite 10 people. I might want to invite 100. And so all those things tend to kind of challenge your relationship. And so how you navigate that wedding planning can be an early indicator of how you navigate your marriage beyond that day. What do you think?
Okay, well, I think you just reinforced my point, but you said, but I don't get it. So, right, I said the wedding day is like the marriage in microcosm. That's what I said. Check the rotate that. Right.
What I said was how you go about planning the wedding.
Same thing. Right. It's just a planning wedding day. Same.
No.
How is it not the same? How not
it's
so?
Not the same, because you said wedding day and you talked about the aspects of that day and beyond that day. I'm talking about the process that leads up to that day.
Correct. And so
those are two different things.
Maybe, but
Did it restart?
No. So maybe that is the case, right? But everything I broke down, it's going to be beautiful, and the flowers and dresses and all that business, right? That goes with. Generally speaking, that's going to be the bride who's kind of like caring about all that stuff, right? All the things that she planned.
Yes.
Now coming to fruition. Right? So it's not like a distinct. It is like a continuum, right? From the planning into the wedding day. That is like all the same stuff. Is it not? Yes. So what I'm saying is, right. So whether it's how you navigate the planning or navigate the day, a lot of times that says a lot. But what I'm suggesting is that no matter whether we're talking about planning the wedding day or what have you, or your marriage, sometimes what you envision doesn't occur in the way you envision it. What do you do next? Right? How do you respond to that? That's really the important point here.
Right. And so, correct. And the part that I want to emphasize is that how you navigate that process, or even that day, can really give you, can foreshadow how you navigate the next year, the next 5, the next 10, or the next 20. And so we all know, and we've heard stories about people who call off their wedding because of the process of planning the wedding. And it's like, wow. I mean, it wasn't that serious. Do they lose sight of what it's all about, or is it a trial? Is that process necessary in order to prevent you from making a mistake? What do you think?
Is there a C option? I mean, I think.
I don't know.
I think the point there, if somebody calls off the wedding because of the pain or the whatever, the frustration of planning, then it suggests to me that perhaps going in, your vision was set on the wrong target, right? Because ultimately, whether you have a big, nice, quote unquote wedding, right? Whether you do, something like in your living room, right? I think that the point of marriage is not about taking great pictures. And so once it becomes about taking great pictures and the reception and all that, and that is kind of the thing that drives you and the thing that kind of takes your emotions up and down and all that, problem, because you're forgetting the big picture. So just as when you get married, once it becomes about, how much money we make and the cars that we drive and, this furniture versus that furniture, and this is the end all be all and nothing else will do and all that business. I don't know. Problem, right? When if you lose sight of the big picture, which is what you create together. Okay. Right? So, I don't know if that answers the question, but I think that sometimes the frustration of planning a wedding I don't know if it. I guess it can tell you something about your relationship.
Yeah.
I think it tells you a lot more about your focus.
Well, I think it tells you a lot about a lot. And I think that if you're paying attention, it can reveal a lot of things. So you said what it's really about. What is it really about? Where should your focus be? And how do you know what your focus should be?
I didn't say that. You said
No,
you're asking how do you know
Yeah.
what your focus should be?
Yeah. Who tells you what you should be focused on?
Well, I mean, the word tells you what you should be focused on, right? I mean, yeah. Is that a trick question? Oh, is that for the camera?
No, well, my point is back to what we were saying at the beginning. There's no class that tells you about how to navigate marriage, what marriage is, how to navigate it. You just have what you've seen, what people tell you, what your parents tell you, or what you've seen in movies, or all the information that you've taken in. But if there is no other place that really tells you what to focus on or what marriage should be about, then how will you know?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people just kind of figure it out as they go. They try to anyway, right? They try to model. It's what my friends say, what my parents did. I mean,
yeah.
A lot of people just and as human beings, what we tend to do is we don't necessarily always ask questions. What we do is we start observing and we start looking to our left and right. How are they doing it? And you should, the next time you go into an empty room, if you get there first, I encourage you to do it. Some gathering is happening, whatever, room's empty, go in, sit down, and just pay attention to what people do when they walk in the door. Because generally speaking, what you will find that they'll do is they'll start looking around for what to do. Should I stand up? Should I sit down? Do I grab that food? Do I not grab that food? Right? Do I speak loudly or do I whisper? And if you really want to have a grand old time, do something. Start whispering. And over the course of time, as people come, you will find people adapt. Why? Because from just how we're designed, right? It's survival, right? You don't have time to ask a lot of questions in some situations. You just have to pay attention. And if somebody else is okay, if I do what they do, I'll be okay too, right? That's just how we're wired. And so, problem is we often use it at times where it's not helpful to us, such as how to talk to my wife. What love looks like sometimes, what gifts to get, things like that. We're taking in information sometimes it's not necessarily helpful. So
okay,
I think that's how people learn. We watch, taking information. In absence of anything else, we take in information and we apply it. Sometimes in cases that don't apply to our marriage, which is why I also caution folks against, if there's something happening between you and I, right? I'm not gonna call my sister and ask her what you think, what you might be thinking, right? I'm not gonna call, my mom and ask her, tell me about what might be happening here. I think that's a problem, right? But it's natural to want to do, because certainly they should know. A woman should understand what you're thinking, right?
No.
Right. No.
No, I mean, and it's the
right.
same. I mean, we people in general say that women are difficult to understand, right? That is that we're hard nut to crack, so to speak. And so I think in general, people believe that all women think alike or all men think alike, just like all women behave similarly and all men behave similarly. That could be no further from the truth. It's just not true. And, we always say that the best way to get answers about what's happening with the person that you live with, that you love, that you're married to, is to go to that person. Yes.
Yeah. And oftentimes you will find that the answer, you probably heard the answer before. And so, a lot of times we want the answer to change. And it's like, I know I've heard that, but it's like you don't necessarily process it in the same way. Right. And so, which is why a lot of people come to see us and it's like, hey, I don't know, some point, we'll share some point, and it's just like, yeah, you're a genius. And that spouse is like, I told you that like, told you that like 30 times. What are you saying?
Yeah.
We just, sometimes we hear things differently from different people. And so maybe, what we need to do is listen differently at home. Or maybe just listen. I don't know.
Yes. So if you're joining us for the first time or you just joined us, we're Inside Marriage with Mike and Wendy Perry. And as many of you know, we celebrated our 21st anniversary this past week. And so it's kind of funny. It's almost like my age, right? So once I pass a certain age, then for whatever reason, I start saying that I'm the next age already.
Oh, I thought you... I thought you were saying that like 21 was almost like your age. I mean, hey, I'm with it. Hey, all day.
No. So for all of, I think 2018, I was saying we have been married for 21 years.
Yeah.
So what happens is as you get older, when you get to the actual date, sometimes you're off. And people don't understand how it is that you're not exactly sure. Has it been 21 years or is it 22? I mean, So anyway, it's been 21 years. It's been 21 great years. And so one of the things that, as we share with you all, one of the goals of what we're doing is really trying to illuminate and educate on what marriage is, right? According to the Bible, according to what God says marriage is, not necessarily according to what Mike and Wendy says it is. And I think that it's important to distinguish that because we have opinions just like everybody else. And while we've been successful at it for 21 years, we never proclaim to have all of the answers or the keys to how to do it. The way we did it is not necessarily the way that you would do it. Mm-hmm. But there are some things that we have figured out. And so I think we probably should share some of what we figured out. What are 5 things that we figured out in 21 years?
5 things? I don't know if I figured out 5 whole things.
3 things that we figured out in 21 years
mm-hmm.
that have helped us stay together for 21 years.
Not about me.
It's not about you.
Yes.
So who is it about?
Well, it's about you. Right?
Oh, so you say our marriage is not about you, it's about me.
It's about, I mean, I don't know, it's about me, not about me, right? Right? It's about us, it's about the marriage, it's about God, right? So it is not about, what I want
mm-hmm.
all the time. It's not even about, in some moments, it's not about the thing that's going to make you particularly like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like this is going to make me really happy right now, so I'm going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to enjoy whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes, coming and seeking out forgiveness or apologizing or owning up to something. I mean, I wouldn't say that's like fun, like, yay, let's go, ownership. No, I mean, it's not, right? But it's not about you. It's not about what makes you feel good. It's about what is the appropriate thing to do in a moment, right? Mm-hmm. The thing that, that you must do. Like, yeah, I have to own that. I did that, mm-hmm. said that, whatever, mm-hmm. right? So, and sometimes it's not about, I think we talked before, and in fact, I know we talked before about sometimes like the father, right? Like the father gets the big piece of chicken or whatever, or like, let me eat first and then you all can have whatever is left. No, it's ridiculous, mm-hmm. right? And so as a husband and a father, it's about sacrifice. It's not about me, right? It's about sacrifice. So okay. That's one.
So I would say it doesn't matter who's right.
Okay, I mean, elaborate.
Right. So a lot of times we get into disagreements, fights. We create division, and there's contention around who's right and who's wrong. And I think that when you can embrace or create the rule that it doesn't matter who's right, that it can alleviate a lot of that tension,
Yeah.
right? So if you're always trying to prove your point, you're always trying to make sure that everybody knows that you're right in the situation, that you're right during an argument, that you're right in your action, that you become focused on being right instead of being focused on, what you both share, right? On what the atmosphere is like and whether or not you're creating an atmosphere of love or an atmosphere of dissension. And so I think if you can embrace that it doesn't matter who's right, that will help.
Yeah, that is the, trying to win the battle and losing the war type thing, right? Because some people are just like, you want to be right, and then they're calling people or grabbing people like, hey, what are you, and listen, if this is you
doing a poll,
please do not poll people, don't call people, don't try to get advocates, right? It does not matter what they think. Trust me. And just because they agree with you, it doesn't make them right either. And even if it does, so what? Let's look at that. What do you gain, right?
Yeah, right. What do you win?
It's like, hey, you know what? I'm right. See, because such and such said I was. Ha. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then what?
Yep. You can be right, sleeping right there on the couch
by your doggone self. So. I don't get it, but hey, stop calling up people and stop pulling people into your disagreements, people, if that's you.
Well, it comes back to what you were saying, focusing on what's important. And so whatever it is that you believe is important gets the most attention and the most focus. What are you making more important than your spouse in your marriage? It's kind of a question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the question. Let that linger. Let that hang.
Okay.
Like fresh morning.
So what's the third thing as we get ready to close this out?
I think the third thing is with love and grace, forgiveness, there's nothing you cannot overcome.
Okay. So say that again.
I think with love and forgiveness, there's nothing that you can't overcome. Right? And so actually the first two things that we said, I think kind of flow naturally into that idea that because when you've been offended, right, oftentimes we want a price has to be paid, right? You need to, A, say you did something, B, you need to pay somehow. I just don't know what price can be paid, right? And and who are we, right? All of us have done something that's wrong, that's been offensive or hurtful or what have you. And so it gets to a point where the debt is too high to pay. However, the debt has already been paid. Right? Our marriage is a model, right? God so loved the world that he gave his only son, right? That whosoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. How does that happen? Because the law said that when there was a sin, there had to be a price, a sacrifice made, right? The wages of sin is death. Yeah. Wages of sin is death. I've always, the subject verb agreement there, is wages like a singular item? Anyway, so gift of God is eternal life. How? Because he sacrificed his own son in order to what's the word I'm looking for, right? The law said it had to be a sacrifice, so he gave up his son, and that satisfied the law for the world forever. Right? And so this idea of husband loving wife like Christ loved church, that is about sacrifice. That's about this love that transcends everything that she could possibly do. Right? And so that's the charge for the husband. But the Bible continues on. It talks to everybody about loving your neighbor as yourself. It's about forgiving people as I have forgiven you. That is Jesus, right? So that is what it's all about, right? That's what marriage is about. And so if the word is in it, then that provides some guidelines, right? And if the word is not in it, well, that becomes a real challenge because people apply guidelines based on all other sorts of things.
Right. And so, we've often been asked about same-sex marriage and different types of arrangements and, how that fits in and what our position is on it. And so because what we follow and what we believe is, as Christians, is Bible-based, based on exactly what you just described, then someone who gets married outside of that provision, outside of that guidance, it's a different focus. It's just, that's just fact.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that mean that what we share cannot be applied in those circumstances? Not necessarily, but we want to be clear that the basis from which we operate and share is exactly what you described.
Yeah, it's very much a biblical basis. And so, as you begin to kind of walk it back, the question has to be, what is the real foundation of your marriage, right?
Yes.
So the foundation of our marriage is actually not my love for Wendy and her love for me, right? The foundation of our marriage is our love for God, right? And so then that begins to shape everything that grows out from that love.
Right.
So.
And so it's important then, if, as you examine your own marriage, that you have a conversation about what the foundation of your marriage is. I think that's important. What do you think?
No question. Yeah.
Yes. So if you're looking to determine how you make it 21 years or 25 or 50
Don't ask us.
or 100 years,
Don't ask us.
start with determining what the foundation of your marriage is. I think it's a great place to start.
Yeah. And that is a great place for us to close it on out.
So thanks again for joining us for another week Inside Marriage. We'll be back next Monday at 7 on Facebook Live on the Oak Grove Married Couples Facebook page. Feel free to comment, please share, and if you have any questions, you can always message us. He's Mike, I'm Wendy, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye, y'all.
Have a great spring break. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.